Hey everybody, how y'all doing? It's Mike here with Wildlife Outdoor Survival. Well, y'all, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm right here close to the access road of our farm, and they're harvesting hay on the farm, rolling hay and stuff today, so we may have some traffic coming in and out. If so, I'll just pause till the traffic gets by. You'll hear the gravel popping. We don't have blacktop out here, y'all. But what I want to talk about today, y'all know I've been doing this series on the Alone Show of Season 5. Well, Season 5, Episode 4 was on. I apologize because it's been about 4 days since it's been on. I'm kind of running behind y'all, but I've been looking for a job and all that. Y'all know all the whole story behind that. But anyway, um, y'all know the video we did on Episode 3, we talked about shelters and stuff like that and preserving food. And y'all, this time, now on this episode, they bounce back and forth from person to person a lot more. But what I did, I just categorized each person and I took notes up for each person. That way I'm going to talk about each person individually. So it is day 11, 7 people remain when this episode starts out, episode 4. Starts out showing Brooke. First thing Brooke says, it's getting cooler. I don't know if that's because of season change or if it's because there's a storm coming, y'all. Starts out, we talked about Brooke making her fire pit, and I told y'all that I would make a draft or a draw or a chimney or something. Well, Brooke tried her fire pit out. She didn't like the way it was working. She tried to vent it through the ridge, the very end where the ridge meets of her roof in her shelter, and evidently that didn't work out so well. I think she was still accumulating quite a bit of smoke inside of her shelter. So what Brooke does, she digs a tunnel from her fire pit to the outside wall of her shelter, underneath the outside wall of the shelter. Then she goes and takes some birch bark and rolls it up like a tube and puts it inside the hole and then covers it with dirt. That way her fire can draw air and make your fire burn better. And she also takes, I think it was a smoke rack she had made. I think she said she had made the smoke rack earlier, but she wasn't catching enough fish to preserve them, so she took that smoke rack and used it for a chimney. Pretty good idea, y'all. I'm kind of worried about putting the debris and stuff on the outside of that. As it dries, it could catch fire, but Brooke says she's not going to have a big fire, just a small warming fire. I hope that works out great. I mean, it may. But guys, Brooke, like I told y'all, she spends part of her time in Alaska. Brooke knows how to handle the cold. I think she'll do great when the colder weather hits. Then the next thing you hear Brooke talking about is thunder. It starts thundering in the background, off in the distance, and Brooke says she hopes it doesn't rain. Well, y'all, it rained. Thunder, lightning, rain, hail, pretty fierce winds, and in Mongolia the winds can get up to 50 miles an hour. That's pretty rough. We talked about on the last video we did on episode 3 that we were worried about, that I was worried about the shelters and holding up for winter time, and now there's a storm coming up, and honestly y'all, everybody's kind of wondering, worried, curious about how their shelter's going to hold up. I'm trying to make this fast, y'all. It's going to get dark on me. Anyway, Brooke's actually holding on to her tarp at times. And when you guys hear thunder and lightning, well, if you count in between the lightning flash and the sound of thunder, every 5 seconds between those, the storm's a mile away. Every 5 seconds is 1 mile. But anyway, it seems like Brooke's in good spirits. She was talking about pie and stuff in the beginning of the show and wanted everybody to eat a piece of pie for her. Well, Brooke, I ate a piece of pie. While I was watching the show, I ate a piece of pie. Maybe that'd make you feel a little better, huh? But, like I said, she's in good spirits. She's got her sense of humor. She's still confident. I think she's going to be really good when it starts to get colder. She's experienced in extreme weather and conditions. I'm anxious to see what she's going to do when it gets colder. Okay, y'all, next person it shows, Dave. Okay, um, when it shows Dave, he's standing inside his shelter and talking about the wind and stuff getting up, and he goes and cuts some more debris and puts on top of his shelter. He's cutting firewood to bring inside to keep dry. He says that the weather there is fast moving and ever changing. You know, he said that's part of the weather in Mongolia. That's just the way it is. Okay. Next morning after the storm, Dave gets up and he's going out to try to. He was actually getting some rain blow in one end of his shelter, so he's going to wall it up, and he's going to cut some trees to make logs out of to wall it up with. Well, y'all, Dave finds a widowmaker just right in line with his shelter where it could fall right on it. If y'all don't know what a widowmaker is, it can be a standing dead tree, it can be dead limbs in the tree, anything overhead that could blow out, fall on you, cause some serious damage. It could actually even be fatal, y'all. And you know, Dave admits he made a mistake. He said he looked before he set his shelter up. He just missed it. He handles it well. He admits he made a mistake. Um, you know, that's human, y'all. Anybody can make a mistake. Um, you know, okay. The next thing it shows Dave is he sees a woodpecker. He decides not to shoot the woodpecker. Now later he actually shoots a squirrel, cleans it, eats it. He said he doesn't want to kill, but he has to eat. Well, y'all, that's the bottom line. You have to eat. And I'm just worried that I hope this doesn't go farther with Dave and, you know, where he doesn't want to try to kill something to harvest food. We'll try to turn this light on, y'all. All right, that didn't work. Anyway, we're going to try to go a little faster, y'all. It's getting dark on me. I'm sorry. Uh, okay, next person that shows is Larry. Um, which Larry's laying in his shelter already. He starts talking about wondering if his shelter's going to leak, hoping his sleeping bag doesn't get wet. Well, y'all, he gets a leak right by his head. I don't think it's a major leak, but he does. And Larry says that he just has a natural shelter. It's kind of like an A-frame. It's just got the tarp stretched over it. Uh, you know, Larry's having hunger pains. And so far, I think he's eaten one chipmunk, and he said he's eaten a few dandelions and stuff like that, but that's it, y'all. And this is day 11, okay? Larry's going to try fishing. Larry's talking about how his stomach's growling. You can actually hear it growling, how he's missing home. You know, y'all, all that going without food and everything, it wears on you. I mean, it wears on you mentally, y'all. It will make you want to give up. Uh, but Larry catches a fish. As soon as he catches that fish, y'all, um, everything changes. His attitude changes. He actually does a little dance, a little happy dance. He calls it his fish dance. He's talking about lessons learned while he's fishing and being reminded of the lessons that he learned before when he was doing this on the previous season. You know, I'm sure a lot of things are coming back to mind. Okay? Okay, so next we have Britt. Okay? Britt, he's sitting in a shelter, wind's coming through, tarp's flopping. You can tell he's a little worried about the shelter. Actually, one of his rafters falls out, and okay, he he is like I said, worried about his shelter. He's handling it well. Uh, okay, the next thing it shows Larry, Britt, the next morning the uh, after the storm, the next morning he's out and he finds a toad, y'all. It's a big toad, but you know, y'all, toads can be toxic. I don't. We eat frogs and stuff here. I frog gig. I hunt frogs and stuff. We actually eat frog legs and stuff like that here. But um, you know, if you don't know for sure, don't eat it. I mean, that's all I can say. Come to find out, that toad is toxic, which Britt lets it go. He doesn't eat it. Um, but while he's down by the river, he's been seeing these ducks swimming up and down the river, and yeah, and while he's seeing these ducks, he decides he's going to take his bow and try to shoot one. So he takes some paracord, takes the inner strands out of the paracord, ties the string around his arrow, and he's ready to shoot these ducks if they come up and down through the river. But while he's standing there, y'all, here comes a deer swimming down the river. I mean, a deer, you know, and he's just tore up about it. Well, he takes a shot at it. My only concern was the tip he had on his arrow was a field tip, is what we called it. It's a practice tip. It's not a broadhead. It doesn't have blades. It doesn't make a big cutting diameter. And I know you can take various broadheads with you. I mean, you know, tips with you. Myself, I would take some small game tips. I have some small game broadheads. I have what they call a judo point for birds and small games. And I would take some big broadheads with a big cutting diameter for larger game. And myself, I would take a fishing arrow. But I'm not sure how many you can take this time. I know on some previous seasons it was 6. I heard another YouTuber say this time it was 9. But myself, I have not seen the gear list for season 5, so I'm not going to comment on that. Anyway, Brett shoots at this deer 4 times, y'all. He misses. Deer runs off. Anyway, after he gets back to his shelter, his camp, he's talking about how he's going to have to start doing more and how he's going to set more traps and, you know, how, and my advice, set as many as you can, you know. And, but, you know, Britt, he seems to be confident. He seems to be determined. And I feel like if Britt keeps this attitude, he will go far in this season, y'all. Hey, y'all, it's getting so dark. I'm not picking up very well. I'm going to go inside and finish this video, so y'all just bear with me, and I'll be right back, y'all. All right, y'all. Sorry, got dark on me outside, but, you know, we were talking about Britt and the broadheads and stuff that he used. I just want to show y'all. This is actually a small game broadhead. It's kind of twisted. It's not a big diameter or anything. It's made for small game and stuff. That's probably one of the tips I would take. Then a judo point is right here, and y'all can see the little wires and fingers on it. That's mainly for small game, birds, stuff like that, where you don't shoot all the way through and lose your arrow or lose your tip. And of course, I would take some major broadheads too. That's something I would use for deer, big game, stuff like that. Actually, let me see if I got in my box here a field tip. Just so you guys know, this is kind of what Britt was shooting at the ducks. Okay, something close to that. But now I'm pretty sure when he shot at the deer, the second time he did use broadheads and stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all that's some of the broadheads that I would probably take, the tips I would take, and just for various stuff. And like I said, I would probably also take a fishing arrow where I could actually shoot fish in shallow water and stuff like that. Okay, the next person it shows is Randy. Well, after this storm and stuff, y'all, Randy made the comment that the wind was probably 30 to 40 miles an hour. I told y'all earlier, the wind can get up to 50 miles an hour in Mongolia. Pretty rough winds, you know, especially when you're just out there with a tarp shelter. You know, having a good shelter can give you security and like a safe place, and, you know, make you more confident and, you know, not as worried as much where you rest better and stuff at nighttime. I think that's a big key. But Randy is moving to his cabin shelter. He's pretty much done with it, other than putting the tarp on the roof and stuff like that. It's really a nice looking shelter, y'all. It's like a little miniature cabin. Now he's going to take like grass and mud and moss and stuff and put in between the logs, and that's called chinking. That's what he's going to do to keep airflow and stuff from going through the logs. He's actually chinking the shelter, and then it shows him collecting clay from the riverbank. Up under the edge of the riverbank, he's getting clay, so he can use it for like a mortar, clay and rocks to build his fireplace and chimney. Pretty good idea. Um, okay, he feels very, Randy feels very positive about his cabin. Um, he's been eating wild greens, mushrooms, catching a lot of fish, uh, doing really good. And his confidence is up. He is confident, talking about long term. Um, I mean, honestly, Randy, I think has the skills. He's actually a survival instructor, and I think he has the skills to go a long way in this show. Uh, Next person we go to is Jesse. Jesse's actually in bed when this starts out, and he hears a sound, and he thinks it's a moose. Well, he listens to it for a while, and then he makes a noise, kind of like imitating a moose or whatever. He said something about it being maybe breeding season. I'm not sure what season it is there, so I can't tell you, but my opinion, like I said, y'all, I don't judge anybody by what they do, but my opinion, I don't see howling at wolves and making noise at moose and stuff, especially if it's breeding season and they're in like a rut. That's how they communicate. That's how they find each other. Well, if he thinks you're a female, he's coming. I mean, you don't want no moose coming up in your camp, y'all. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I would not do that. I have seen a couple people howl at wolves when they hear them off in the distance. Y'all, that's how they communicate. Wolves hunting packs. One of them gets over here to find something, he'll make a certain howl. Well, if you make that howl and they think that you're another wolf, y'all, they could come to you. You don't want a pack of wolves up inside your camp. I mean, that's just my opinion, but that's how I feel about it. Okay. Then it shows Jesse. He's actually put out some trout lines. He catches a fish. One of the first lines he pulls in, he catches a fish. I don't know if he loses the grip or the line breaks or something. The fish gets away. Y'all, that's got to be discouraging. Um, then, you consider that he was up most of the night because of the noise of the moose or whatever it was, lack of sleep, hungry. He's talking about he has no energy. He says he doesn't have the energy to get up and get going. He needs food. And, I'm kind of worried about that, y'all, because if you get to the point where you're so low on energy that you can't get up and push yourself to go, I mean, you have to go. You have to get out and find food. That's where you draw on, I mean, that's the mental part of it. You have to, overcome that. You have to push through it. And, because if you go so long without eating, you're not going to have the energy to get up and go, y'all. And that could be a major issue when you're trying to do something like this. But, I think this was like day 15. 7 people remain. We did not see Sam. I don't know why. Not sure. Maybe they just didn't show him on this episode, which, that they bounce back and forth. You don't really know. And we talked about in the last video for episode 3 how important shelter is. I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of time and energy on it, but you need something that's sturdy and secure. One of the guys I talked to a lot on YouTube, Bill, he and I, we've been talking about even a dugout shelter and going over different scenarios and conversing back and forth, talking about them. And that's one of the things I love about YouTube, y'all. That's why it means so much to me, is the camaraderie and the fellowship and sharing and commenting and the conversation about stuff that you're interested in back and forth with people that have the same interest. It's a wonderful thing, y'all. Like I told y'all, I got notes. To me, it's all about preparing ahead. Like this storm come up on these guys, and several of them weren't ready. I think Randy is probably the only one that's really got a shelter that's that far along. A secure shelter, a heavy duty shelter. I mean, and But to me, that's what it's about, is preparing ahead, like having a shelter made before something bad like that comes in. Trying to catch fish and preserve it, and you know, being making yourself comfortable and finding food, confidence and security. I mean, that's what this comes down to. That's a big part of the mental effect it has on you. And like we talked about Dave, I'm sorry, but he's worried about killing animals to eat. You can't let that get to you. You can't, Dave, buddy. I hope this doesn't become an issue. I understand where you're coming from, but you have to eat. Bottom line, you have to eat. The more calories you can take in, the more food you can prepare ahead of time and preserve food for later is going to be a big factor in this episode. I mean, in this season, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Everything I say here, y'all, is just my opinion. And and as you use energy, you have to use energy to harvest this stuff, but you have to be able to, whether it's food or wild edibles or whatever, you spend energy in everything you do out there. But y'all, you got to take calorie intake where you have more energy to keep going. I mean, that's the key. I mean, that's one of the major factors in this is having enough food, and not just for now, but for later. This season, season 5, Mongolia, you better be preparing. My opinion only. And y'all, which now you have to obey the laws, what you can hunt. I mean, on this show, I have read some information that says you have to obey the game laws. I mean, the harvest laws. You can't just go out there and kill anything. Um, that's one of the things. I mean, if it's not in season, I'm sure, which I don't know how the seasons and hunting and stuff works in Mongolia, but I do know in previous seasons they talked about, you know, educating you through like a little boot camp to where you know what you can harvest and what kind of food. But and y'all, you know, I've seen a lot of people talk about this show. I've seen a lot of people, I'm not gonna say hate, but giving back bad energy, you know. But y'all, let me tell you something. Until you've been there and done it yourself, you can't talk about it, y'all. You know, I respect each and every person on this show. I want all of them to do well. Not only will it make a better show, but that's just the energy I want to put back to these people. I know Brooke has done a video since season 5 talking about the hate and stuff. I've actually commented on it. I've actually talked to Nicole. After her MS attack, she had to leave. Um, I'm not going to go into detail, but Nicole actually sent me a link to where I could look up a Q&A with what History Channel did with her. And it's not my place to pass along stuff, but if y'all are curious about it, you need to look it up on history.com. And, you know, I'm not bagging on anybody. I'm not downing on anybody. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just giving my views and my opinions of what I would do and the way I see it. That's all we can do, y'all. Because let me tell you something. A fraction of what you see on this show is just a fraction. What's on TV is a fraction of what goes on while these people are out there, y'all. And you have to film every bit of it yourself. I think there's like 5 cameras that you operate. You have to harvest your own food. You have to build your own shelter. You have to make your own fire. You have to purify your own water. I mean, y'all, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. I've never went this long term, but I have pulled about 31 days by myself in the wilderness with bare necessities, bare minimal gear. It's not easy, y'all. You know, and being that far away, secluded, by yourself, missing your friends, your family, your loved ones, it's going to wear on you. Going without food, it's going to wear on you. I mean, it's going to get to you. But, you just have to be mentally strong enough to push through that. And, y'all, don't put back no negative energy to these people. These people are trying to do something. I mean, you know, y'all, I have tried. Season 6 will be the next season. This is season 5 on now. Season 5 is actually on now. I have been trying since season 2 to get on this show. And you know, y'all, I mean, to me, y'all can say what you want to. I can handle the bad comments. It rolls off my back like water off a duck, y'all. I mean, you know, I do the best I can do. I enjoy what I do, and that's why I do it. That and to pass it along to other people. You know, I've said this before. If we don't pass along all these primitive skills and this survival, you know, it's up here. If you don't pass it along, as generations go on, it's going to be a forgotten art, y'all. It will be a thing of the past. That's why I do YouTube. Not only, now I started doing YouTube just to get on this show. But after my wife talked to me about how many kids are teenage years and up that probably live right here in the little small town where I'm at, never caught a fish, never cooked anything over open fire, never eat anything over open fire. Y'all, that's the way I was raised. That's why it means so much to me. That's why I decided to start doing YouTube. Not just for the Alone Show. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. When I started out, that's what it was about, was getting on the show. I still want to get on the show, y'all, and I will continue to try no matter how many seasons go on, no matter how many times I don't make it, I will continue to try. And I will try harder each time, and I'll be better prepared each time. But I enjoy YouTube, the fellowship, the camaraderie, you know, common interest, and having conversations about that interest. But y'all, until you walk a mile in a man's shoes, you can't judge them. Don't judge these people by what you see on TV. There's a whole lot of things these people do and go through that you don't see anything about. That's just the way I see it, and that's how I feel about it. Everybody has the right to their own opinion. Say what you want, but don't hate on people, y'all. I mean, we're all the human race. We're all the same. We're all meant to get along, you know? And I just want to tell each and every person that's on this show, that's been on this show, and that will get on this show, I respect each and every one of you. You know, anybody that's willing to go out here and try this, to take 10 items and go live in the woods. Just start over, like a homestead, from nothing. Y'all think that's easy? Give it a try. Anyway, I just want to tell you I appreciate you. I love each and every one of you. And if you would, please like and subscribe to our channel. And I'll see y'all next time.